Hello, my name is Professor Sudhir Bisht. I teach a full course in strategic management to the MBA students in a college under the IP University. In today's video, we will discuss the statement made by Mr. Naren Morti, the founder chairman of Infosys Limited. Mr. Murthy has batted for a three shift daily working for infrastructure sector. So in this video, we will discuss what exactly is Mr. Murthy's idea. Why has Mr. Murthy's suggestion on the infrastructure met with so little response? I mean, there is no buzz around it. I will also explain to you what is the meaning of infrastructure. What is the importance of infrastructure in a nation's economy or in a state's economy or in a city's economy. I will also explain why I am batting for Mr. Narayan Murthy's idea of three shift a day. And towards the end, we will examine if is this idea workable. I will explain yes, and I'll explain how it is workable. Welcome to my channel. You shall all recall that Mr. Murthy 2 3 weeks ago said that the young people, the young generation must work 72 hours a week. Of course, that received a lot of criticism, okay, and more brickbats than some praise, some bouquets. So earlier this week, Narayan Murthy also said something, but this time what he said has not found much media attention. So his comment came on 29th November, I think, during a conversation he had with the Zerodha co-founder, I think his name is Nikhil Kamath, at a Bengaluru tech summit. The discussion was on the requirement for Bengaluru's development in the next 5 10 years. Everybody is talking of development of the IT hub of India, which is Bengaluru. So Mr. Murthy batted for a three shift working to speed up important infrastructure projects like the metro project in Bengaluru. And he said that the government and the various agencies, they must give up the idea of one shift working pattern on infra project. Right now, mostly the work on the infra project is one shift, and Mr. Murthy said government must give up this idea. And he said that uh, developed countries do at least two shifts on a infra project, and if India needs to step up, it must ensure a round the clock work on these projects. Remember, he is referring only to the infrastructure projects. One question that comes to my mind is that why has Mr. Murthy's suggestion on the infrastructure met with so little response? I mean, nobody is talking about it in the media. There are no YouTubers who are either favoring it or condemning it. Why? This is because the workers in the infrastructure sector, they are silent types, inconspicuous, low profile. Most workers on, let us say, for example, construction sites, they come from far off places. They don't have a social media profile where their feelings they find an expression with the vocal opinion makers or their followers. In fact, they don't have many followers. Many of them are not on social media platforms. I am, however, in complete agreement with Mr. Murthy's thought this time. Last time when he spoke of 72-hour work week, I had opposed it. But this time I am in complete agreement. In the three shift work day suggested by Mr. Murthy, uh, I think it would be a huge relief to the infrastructure workers. It will actually benefit workers, and it will give a boost to the infra companies as well. But before I dwell further, let me try to explain what exactly is meant by an infrastructure. I will explain to you, in the next slide. What is the meaning of infrastructure? The word infra in French, it means below or underneath, and structure stands for a building. Okay, so infra means what lies beneath or below, and structure is a building. The word was first used in the last decade of 19th century to mean the foundation on which the economy of a nation or a state or a city is built. So it could mean the electricity grids, the roads infrastructure, the telecom fiber network, the PNG underground pipelines, the BTS stations of the telecom, the water pipelines, the sewage system, the waterways, the airports, the bus termini, or the fuel stations, or in the for the recent times, the EV charging stations, the railway network, the road transport network, the shipping ports, the petroleum product pipelines. All these they fall under infrastructure. Why? Because these are the basic foundations of a strong manufacturing as well as a service sector. If the infrastructure is poor, the economy can never prosper because the products and services cannot be made available or cannot be produced if the basic infrastructure is bad. To give an example, in the absence of a robust telecom network, the IT sector and the related industries, they would simply refuse to take off. The BFSI sector, or the banking, financial services and insurance sector, okay, it would be a non-starter. And something like, fintech, which we are very proud of, the fintech sector would completely collapse. So this is the meaning of infrastructure, what I have explained to you. Let me give you the example of a country, Nigeria, to explain the importance of infrastructure for a nation. Uh, Nigeria is the most populous nation in Africa. It is among the top crude oil producing or crude oil exporting countries in the world. It approximately produces, I think, 1.3 million barrels, or 13 lakh 500 of 13 lakh or 13.5 lakh barrels of crude per day, and it consumes only about 4 lakhs, or 400,000 barrels of petroleum product daily. So there is a huge gap, in the sense of it's a positive gap. It produces far in excess of what it consumes. But here is the twist: despite being a big crude oil producer, Nigeria has to import most of its finished product. Why? This is because Nigeria has a very poor refinery setup. So importance of refinery infrastructure. So if I'm quoting from a newspaper Punch, and I'm reading out of it, it says Nigeria has an average refining capacity of 10,600 barrels per day. It's taking a figure of last 5 years. So that makes 10,600 barrels per day in last 5 years capacity. It makes it a very important member of the OPEC countries, but it has one of the lowest refining capacity. So Nigeria has a meager refining capacity. It also suffers from the lack of adequate pipeline network to transport finished petroleum products. The petroleum products in Nigeria, they are transported mostly by tank trucks or bulk road vehicles, as they are called in Nigeria, BRVs. So for tank trucks in West Africa, they call it BRV. This is the most inefficient way to transport petroleum products over large distances, over long distances. It is due to the lack of infrastructure that in the petroleum sector, that the retail prices of petrol and diesel in Nigeria are high, in spite of it having a very low tax. The tax on the value added tax on petrol and diesel in Nigeria is just around 7.5%, among lowest. Yet the prices are high. One of the most important, so this I'm trying to explain to you the importance of infrastructure. So one of the most important benefits of a robust infrastructure, its planning and execution, if it is completed on time, is that the cost of this infrastructure is recovered in a predefined period. So a great infrastructure cannot be built on cost overruns because of delays or because of faulty planning. So cost overruns and delays, it is a enemy of good infrastructure planning and execution. And as the economist has said in a recent article which I read, that a recent report by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, it has revealed that there have been considerable cost overruns in India's NHAI project, the Dwarka Expressway project, not far from my house. The In some packages of this Dwarka Expressway, there have been cost overruns to the tune of 47% of the original cost which was envisaged. So, if you delay a project, if a project is delayed, like the Dwarka highway project in Delhi and Manesar, it is delayed. It has resulted in 47% hike in the cost of infrastructure. So, execution of a infrastructure, planning and execution, and ensuring that there are no delays, it is of critical importance to a country. And that is why Mr. Narayan Murthy is saying that we must work for 3 shifts in a day and complete all the projects in double quick time. So let us examine why I support the 3 shift working idea of Mr. Narayan Murthy. Point number one, a 3 shift working would lead to 100% asset utilization. Asset utilization. All infrastructure product projects, they typically use very expensive equipment. Most equipments are, several lakh of rupees. For the purpose of simplicity, let us take a small stretch of a road project, and it requires, 5 JCB loaders, JCB black hole loaders. Suppose these are required for a project. Each will cost roughly 25 lakhs. So maybe the contractor has them already, or he will lease it from a leasing company. So if a JCB black hole loader, it is working for only 7-8 hours in a day, typically in a 12-hour shift, including the rest period for the driver and the machine. So utilization is extremely poor. You can use this machine for 24 hours. Okay. So the asset is wasted for over 12 hours or 14 hours. A three shift working will ensure that this precious asset, this valuable asset, it it is uh, utilized very well. 3 shift working would ensure that the asset sweats wonderfully well, and this will lead to immediate saving in terms of cost and in terms of time. So number one, 100% asset utilization is possible under a 3 shift working. My point number two in support of 3 shift a day working as proposed by Narayan Murthy is that it will reduce the finance cost. Apart from efficient utilization of resources, the cost of finance will be reduced. If you see InvIT, or the Infrastructure Investment Fund of NHI, it is giving an interest of 8.5% on the bond. So let us assume that the finance cost is 8.5%. This means that every year the a project is delayed, it will lead to at least a higher interest cost of 8.5%. Okay, I'm taking a simplistic view. So this is a very significant interest, and every delay will add up to the overall cost of the project. So I think a three shift work day, where the shift starts at 6 in the morning to 2 p.m., 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., and 10 p.m. to the next day 6 a.m., I think it will be a big game changer. It will be a game changer. And that is why I propose that the 3 shift a day working must be implemented forthwith. My third argument in favor of the 3 shift workday is that a 3 shift workday will be a force multiplier. A timely completion of any infrastructure project, it has a force multiplier effect on the non-infra projects also. To give you an example, the first phase of the Red Line project of Delhi Metro. You remember, the Delhi Metro, the Red Line project, which goes from Rohini to the East Delhi. It was completed in December 2006, and it was completed, from the reports I gather, at least 3 years before the target date. Unprecedented, 3 years before the target date. So this ensured zero cost overrun, and it led to a very fast paced development of the real estate projects in that particular area in Delhi. So these projects were non-infra projects. Maybe it was a factory project, it was a mall project, it was a housing project, but because of the rollout of the metro, it acted as a force multiplier effect, and it led to very fast development of even non-infra project. This generated more employment. The wheels of economy started to rotate faster. So a good infrastructure project always have a huge impact on non-infra industries also. My fourth point in support of 3 day, 3 shift workday is that infrastructure projects, they lead to or they create a positive social impact. Positive social impact. That is why it is necessary that all these projects need to be speeded up. Speedy development of the infra projects, how important are they? Let me quote from a Rajya Sabha reply which was given on 6th of December 2023 by Minister of State for Education, Mrs. Annapurna Devi. She stated that the government schools in Bihar, Mizoram, Odisha, Telangana, they had the lowest internet connectivity in the country. Which are the states again? Bihar, Mizoram, Odisha, Telangana. The internet connectivity at the government run schools is lowest in these 4 states. For example, Bihar had just 5.9% internet connectivity in its government run schools. This means that the children of the Bihar government schools will find it extremely difficult to attend, let us say, a virtual conference as compared to the children of Delhi government schools where the internet connectivity is close to 100%. So a three shift network rollout plan in Bihar, it will help the Bihar schools to achieve 100% internet connectivity in a quick way, and this will help the students of the government run schools in Bihar. That is why I say that infrastructure has a positive social impact on the groups of society, and that is why it needs to be achieved, or infrastructure projects need to be concluded expeditiously. My last point in support of a three shift working is that it is good for workers. It may appear to be very dichotomous that three shifts working and then how is it good for workers? Because a three shift working means essentially means that you start the shift at 6 in the morning, 6 to 2 p.m., 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., and 10 p.m. to 6 p.m. A three shift would essentially mean that workers would get to work for 8 hours only instead of 12 hours that seems to be the norm in present times. The standard practice, industry practice today is 12 hours shift 6 days a week, which results in a 72-hour work week. This is in contravention to the model 48-hour work week as proposed in Factories Act. Let me read from Factories Act 1948, and I am quoting from a website called paycheck.in. It says, as per the Factories Act 1948, every adult means anybody who has completed 18 years of age, every adult cannot work for more than 48 hours in a week and not more than 9 hours in a day. According to the section 51 of the act, the spread over should not exceed 10 and a half hours. So currently people are working in a 12-hour shift. If there is a 3-hour shift, it will force the infrastructure implementation companies to put workers in shifts, and it is impossible for them to put the same shift worker who has done a 12-hour shift into the next 12-hour shift again, because it will be a 3-hour shift. So that means there will be 3 sets of worker who will work in shift, because 24 hours is impossible, 12 hours is still possible. If you have a 3 shift, that means you will have to have 3 sets of worker who will work over 3 shifts. The shifts will be rotated, so it is good for workers will not be exploited. Nobody will force a worker to work a 12-hour shift 6 days in a week. That means the worker is working 72 hours. Of course, proper implementation is required, and I know it is fashionable to say that the state agencies should not interfere in the way the private company management they deal with their workers, but it is not good. All workers are human beings and they should work ideally 48 hours, 48 hours in a week, and if they work more than that, they should be entitled to a benefit of double the hourly wages. This is contained in Factories Act 1948. So I believe I have given you five good reasons why three shift working is good for infrastructure sector. It is good for the economy, it is good for the country, it is good for the society, and it is good for the workers. So the final question, is this achievable? Will this concept work? Yes, of course. We do have a precedence of infra projects getting completed at a very rapid pace. The new parliament building, for example, it is a shining example of a three-shift working capital. So if 4,000 workers could work round the clock for the construction of the new parliament building, then there is no reason to believe why all infrastructure projects too cannot follow that model. The implementation must, of course, follow all safety protocols and all the standards of HSE, health, safety, and environment practices. I call I call upon the governments and all the captains of the Indian infrastructure to pay heed to Narayan Murthy's wonderful advice and start a three-shift workday, at least in infrastructure sector. So dear friends, do you agree with me? Do leave your thoughts in the comment section. Please subscribe to the channel if you are a student of BBA or MBA. You can reach me at drsudhirbisht@gmail.com. Thank you for going through this video presentation.